Stay tuned for a meeting of the City of Calabasas Commission. The meeting will be broadcast using Zoom and the city's CTV Channel 3. Commission members may teleconference into the meeting without noticing or posting an agenda at their teleconference location. Besides the live TV and Zoom broadcast, the live stream of the meeting may be viewed online at cityofcalabasas.com/CTV Live. If you want to provide public comment, press raise hand if you're using Zoom or *9 if you're joining by phone. Just unmute yourself by pressing *6. Say your name and the city you live in. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to address the commission regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. If the power or internet goes out lasting more than 15 minutes, or if there's some event that prevents the commission from meeting or prevents you from providing public comment, then the meeting will be adjourned. Any items noticed as public hearings will be rescheduled to the next regular commission meeting. Any other agenda items the commission has not taken action on will be placed on a future agenda. Now, a meeting of the City of Calabasas Commission.
I want to welcome everybody to our February 21st meeting of the Communications and Technology Commission. It's now 6:03. I'm going to call the meeting to order and a roll call of, I see that everyone's here, but maybe we can just go around and state your name, please.
Candace Weber.
Terry Melcher.
Harry Melcher.
Michael Brockman.
Michael Brockman.
Candace Weber.
And David Goldwater.
And Bella.
And Isabella Epperson.
Our student member. Okay, everybody's here. Candace, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of course. Will everybody stand and place your hand on your heart? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it
that
stands,
stands one nation
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
with
justice for all.
for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the agenda, approval of tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as
I'll
presented.
second.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. It passes unanimously. I'm sure everybody had a chance to look at the minutes of January 17th. Are there, before we vote to approve, are there any changes or any additions? I just had one under approval of minutes, the first sentence with the following change, colon, I don't think the change was listed, was it? Or
Correct.
Sorry, yes, I didn't include the change, so I'll go ahead and go back and make that update.
okay, so why don't we go ahead and approve it with the correction that's going to be made, if that's okay with everybody. So
Yeah.
okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 17th meeting? Carrie made the motion.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, second. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, unanimous.
Richard,
Yes.
I have to abstain since I wasn't present at that last meeting.
I mean, technically, you don't have to.
Oh, I thought I did.
Robert, you if you're comfortable abstaining, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to abstain?
Well, I can't, there's no way for me to
Ascertain.
yay or nay, you know?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it was everybody else approved. Okay. Next, any announcements or introductions? Is there anybody from the public wanting to say something? Do we know if there's anybody there who wants to add something?
I think that's for us, isn't it?
Well,
Hold on.
well, okay, first, okay, does anybody of our commissioners have any announcements and introductions? Seeing none, then I'll go to, is there any oral communication? We're just combining it.
That was for efficiency's sake, right?
Yes. Okay, I don't see anybody. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
No.
all right, then we'll move on to new business. And Carrie Melcher and I asked for these two items be placed on the agenda so we can have a discussion, and I'm sure Michael and Arvin want to add something. The first item had to do with the recent water main break on Parkway Calabasas. And there was just a question, I think people who were stuck in that melee with not being able to get back to their homes thought it was an emergency, but compared to something as bad as like the Woolsey fire, it was definitely not an emergency. But it's just a question raised was how information, time-sensitive information is disseminated relative to emergencies, urgent incidents, or time-sensitive items. And then there's the question that maybe we can spend a few minutes on how do you as commissioners think our residents want to get information from the city? Is it through social media? Is it through Blackboard text messages? Or some combination. So that's the purpose. We'll talk about the second one a little later, but that was the reason why we wanted the first one on. And Michael, I know you've been dealing with some of that behind the scenes, so maybe you'd like to update us.
Yeah, just for review, and actually the item number one, I missed the date on that. It should be 2/4/23. It was February 4th. It was a Saturday around 11:30 or so. A very large water main broke. It's either a 14 or a 16-inch water main. I keep hearing two different numbers, but either way, that's large, and that's just a ton of water coming through very, very quickly. The pipe that was running under Parkway Calabasas, right near the golf course, blew, of course, and that caused the road to be closed for a time, and then people to lose their water service in Vista Point and Westridge for several hours. So what we did is, it happened around 11:30 or so. And then by noon, what we started doing was posting on social media. We've got 4 different platforms that we use here: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Nextdoor. And I always believe in kind of a shotgun approach with that for the most part. You put it all out there, try to do it very quickly, obviously try to be accurate. And so what I did is I started putting things on all 4 platforms right around 12:05 or so, and just letting people know, hey, there's a water main break reported. Try to avoid that particular area. Traffic is backed up, roads are closed, etc. Then around 12:30, we did our one and only Blackboard Connect reverse 911, if you will, notification. I'm always a little bit leery of those, in that of doing those, in that this is not a situation where it was an earthquake, where everything happened at once, or maybe there's a large brush fire coming, bearing down on us. It was a water main break. And so, because you can very easily overdo those and send out too many mass notifications to a point where people start to ignore them. And so we did only one, and that was kind of the same message, to let people know, hey, large water main break is the affected area. You want to try to stay away from that area, etc. So we did that one, and that was around 12:30-ish, 12:31, I think it was. And then the remainder of the afternoon, it was on social media, on all the platforms, about 9 or 10 posts on each of them up until The last one, I believe, was around 10 o'clock at night. That's when they were still working on the pipe, trying to get that fixed. So looking back in hindsight, I think it would have been smart to do a second mass notification, a second reverse 911, if you will, just to kind of bookend it, to let people know, okay, the repairs have been made. Well, that the road is open at least. They're working on repairs, et cetera. So at least kind of bookend
Okay.
the whole traffic situation, maybe. Otherwise, it was on social media. And one thing I always try to stress to people is that those mass notifications, the reverse 911s are great if you need to get a lot of information out quickly because it's an emergency. But otherwise, it's going to be on social media first, because I can reach a lot of eyeballs very fast with just one quick sentence, boom, and it's done. And so what I really want to stress to people is, if you don't follow anybody else on social media at all, follow us, follow the city of Calabasas, follow LA County Fire, follow the Sheriff's Department, Lost Hills Sheriff Station. They're all on social media as well. Because that's usually where I'm going to go first when I'm putting out that information.
See, yeah, I as some of I actually was a witness. I was an eyewitness because I was driving down Parkway Calabasas as they were just starting to build up traffic in the other direction, and because there was such dirty water, I couldn't tell if there was a fire, because there was a fire truck there, and the sheriffs were starting to control traffic, and the line was going down quite a bit. So I ended up away from home, and the only notification on my phone was the Blackboard notification, which I found incredibly useful, but then I didn't get any other notifications. So, I think Michael and I talked that I think people need, I believe there's certain people if they're watching tonight or on the replay, don't even know what it means to follow us. Because it's hard sometimes. For example, some of the HOAs, in which there's 40% of the people live in HOAs in Calabasas, don't even give their email addresses so people can send them out emails. So, my thinking is, what can we do to make sure either people are educated or to make sure that if one email goes out, if one Blackboard text message goes out, that there's a follow-up one. So I like your idea of bookends, because it was really, I was kind of like, when is that next when is that next text message going to go out and say things are clear, or there's other ways to get back to those homes? What are some of the other commissioners' thoughts about this?
Well, I would say, because we did have a short discussion with Michael, the issue for me, is that I don't follow social media. So during the Woolsey fire, I found that the Blackboard, not only the text that I got, but the emails, as as the voice, of our ex-city manager, and quite often, came through loud and clear. It was the best way of communicating. So I think the city has to kind of define about, and our Calabasas demographic is skewing a lot older. So a lot of us, even if I had a teenager at home, I'm not sure they'd be tuned in to the city of Calabasas to get any of those social media texts, or even let alone pass it along. Hey, Dad, Mom, there's a problem. So I think you have to consider that Blackboard is much more than just a super emergency way of communicating, but it may become, and you'll have to analyze it, the preferred method to get the word out there's an issue. And, you know, for all of us, it kind of brought up this, you know, the scenario of, you know, what happens if it was an earthquake or a big fire? I mean, the traffic jams that happened at that intersection were monumental. Yelling, screaming. I mean, it became, you know, quite absurd, actually, and not that big of an emergency. So I tend to go to, all right, what's the best way still to communicate to people if there really is beyond a water main break and it goes to fire and earthquake?
For me,
Why don't we, Michael and then Candace? Michael, please.
Fascinating subject. First of all, Michael Russo, I think your instincts are correct. So, you know, there's no reason to pick that apart. The dynamic that you're talking about, let me give you an example, sort of about it. The two areas that you said were affected by the fire were which two? It was the
By the water main break,
yeah, the water main. I'm sorry, the fire. I mean the water main.
where water service was shut off for several hours was Westridge and Vista Point.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. Okay, now let's look at this on a little larger scale. How would anybody from the Oaks get through that get to their homes or coming out if
They didn't.
that's my point.
Right.
It's very hard to get a snapshot picture in an instant of how to get the information out. First, the obvious quickest way of the social media, I agree. But are there any demographics about the social medias in general, about what percentage of the, you know, what their age groups are, which is the demographics? Because I mean, instincts tell me, as immediate as it is, as current as it is, it may not be as large of the totality of the community as we might think it is. So that trying to reach the community at large, and that's really now a judgment call based on the nature of the crisis.
Correct. You know, in terms of demographic numbers, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go on, Michael Russo.
The demographics, they're a little bit tough to come by. It does tend to skew a little bit younger, as you mentioned. Facebook tends to skew a little bit older. Facebook is also very female for whatever reason. It's about 70% of our followers are females on Facebook. Why? I don't know. But yeah, and you know, even the Blackboard Connect, though, not everybody's on that either.
So there is no one single source
Right.
in a solved
Right.
problem. So
Right.
it's a matter of piecing together the elements.
Yeah.
Just try and maybe in advance know that you have a plan that will embrace as large a segment of the residents of the city as possible,
Right.
if the circumstance dictate that they should know what's going on.
And definitely, and that would be crisis dependent, of course.
Yeah.
If it was the earthquake or the major fire coming at us, then yeah, Blackboard Connect would be absolutely the very first thing, but it would be followed up very quickly by social media posts.
See, I also don't think that many of our residents, if they know how to get on social media, know to look on social media for the city of Calabasas. I wonder, well, Candace and then Bella and David, I wanted to, Bella, your perspective as a younger member of our commission, but Candace, you wanted to say something first, I think.
well, I'm probably part of the older demographic, so I just was going to say that I found it right away on Facebook and on Nextdoor. So I found that very helpful.
Well, my dear, if you're the older demographic, I'm the ancient demographic.
But I just, you know, everybody that I know is on social media, so I'm not sure, but I agree with the premise for sure.
Well, I have a question for all of you. Candace, okay, I'm on some of these social media like Nextdoor, but how would it like flash on my phone something from city of Calabasas next door. I mean,
It doesn't flash, you have to go there.
well, how would I, but like I was sort of stranded in town. So I wasn't, like at my computer at home. I had my phone. So, so I kind of relied on that text message to kind of give me some clues. Bella, you had some thoughts, and then Arvin, you and David.
Yeah, so actually I don't I'm not super familiar with Blackboard. I haven't really is it like a messaging system or
It's like a reverse
it's like a-
911 that you
Okay.
sign up for, put in your phone number, and then a message would come to you.
Yeah, text
Got it.
message.
Yeah, I've had
Text,
something
email,
similar like that called Nixle back when the fires were happening. But so yeah, I didn't actually see it there. So aside from actually seeing the burst pipe, the first place that I heard about it was on Instagram because I opened my phone and that was the first thing there. But if you guys do want it to be like you said, Mr. Sherman, like a pop-up, you could always encourage people to turn on like post notifications for the Instagram or Twitter or whatever. That way, every time Calabasas posts, it will tell them.
I think we need a tutorial.
I'd be happy to
No,
help.
I'm being sincere. Mike Russo and I talked about having an actual tutorial to help people understand the process.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Maybe you can text me. I like to know about what you say. But
I definitely can. Yeah.
all right, thank you. Arvin, you wanted to comment, I thought.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. One thing that I'm getting from this is for sure, no one platform is going to cover and notify everybody in the whole city. So that's definitely something. Mike Russo's great point is like shotgun. What we want to do is try to use every piece of a, reaching tentacle out to blast the same information and try to get it out there as much as we can. One thing, Chair Sherman, if I may, I'm going to share my screen for a second here. And yes, this is, if you can see, this is our website, of course, right? cityofcalabasas.com. Let's say anytime if you do receive a warning or, the text message, let's say you get it on Blackboard Connect, what you could always do is come to our website. You don't even have to go all the way down to the bottom. Here's the 3 mostly used ones, Twitter, Instagram, and you'll see an updated one here. You'll see an updated post. See, this is from this morning. But even better is if you go just at the very top here, Twitter is right there. So when you click on Twitter, you don't see, I'm not even logged in right now. I'm not following. I'm in incognito mode. So you don't even have to follow. You should, again, turn on notifications so that when there is a post, you get it right away. But in case of emergency, all you have to do is just come to this website and just keep refreshing it every, couple of minutes, and you'll see the most up-to-date information right here, which recently was the weather, and earlier this afternoon was this ribbon cutting. So my point is, we leave our social media open to the public. They're not private, so that anyone doesn't necessarily have to follow, which I highly recommend you should. But if you don't, all you have to do is, in case of emergency, come to this site, refresh it, and you'll eventually see what's happening. Or,
Could you go back to that site? Because I think this is instructive for anyone watching at home,
Right,
who knows less than me, which is probably not too many, on this topic.
Right.
So if I press follow,
right.
Calabasas,
That's right.
and every time
one of these posts, like right here, an hour ago, there was information about the upcoming weather. About 6 hours ago was this picture and this information about this ribbon cutting. But anytime these posts happen, you'll get a notification. But if you happen to share a name with, let's say, a NFL football player who doesn't do so good on a certain Sunday, and you're getting too many of these notifications, then yes, that looks like you could turn that notification off. But in case of a city emergency, or let's say you get a Blackboard Connect, then you should come to Twitter and turn on your notifications, or keep refreshing this page, this City of Calabasas Twitter page, and you'll get your most updated information constantly. Again, Blackboard Connect, we don't want to be bombarding people with that. Whereas Twitter, it's easy to just keep posting and you get more information that way as one of the avenues.
How did you know that I was getting for a while very negative Twitter comments on Sunday blasting me for the poor football performance the day before? Anyway,
I
I
got a suggestion.
I want.
Hey, it was pretty easy, Chair Sherman. I just got notifications on Twitter.
Well, that's good.
Thank you, Art.
Is it like a PSA that could be done to, because the information that's been shared tonight is, I think if we're learning how to do it, then there are a lot of residents who don't know how to do this yet.
Yeah, this is something actually that I'm percolating in my head, and maybe taking part in some community meetings or HOA meetings and talking about this very thing.
Michael, I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I was just thinking myself, the question here is extent of reach. How many can we reach over a relatively short period of time?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, where you're likely to find greater percentage of people who may be not on social media, I like the senior center. I don't know about the tennis and swim center. It may be a little more diverse, but if there are key social places in the city, that if we could establish some kind of linkage, if you will, to provide blast to them in some fashion. I know I'm speaking, up in the sky right now, but I'm trying to think of places where you can reach a majority of the demographics of the city as quickly as you can.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Social media just tends to make it feel like it's enormous, but it isn't certainly key influence of today. I understand that, but it is not the only one. And now we have to search for a way for us to communicate with as many of the residents as we can, particularly where there's a problem. If it's just generalized information, okay, there's no crisis. But it's circumstances like the water main break become a better yardstick for us to say, how do we improve upon getting that information out?
Yeah, and I want to hear from Commissioner Goldwater too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was. Exactly.
Go ahead, David.
Well, one of the things that you guys have all said is great. I think putting the word out there is obviously the best thing we could do. I've got to say that in past incidences, like if there's a fire, I would have never even thought to go to the city website. I would look at CAL FIRE incident report. If I didn't have water coming in, I would be calling Los Virgenes Water. I wouldn't think to be looking to see about any water main breaks or anything like that. I think there's going to be a lot of retraining people to consider this a source for their information. And probably the best way to do it is like you said, is to just spread it out there as much as you can over every possible source that you could use.
And in thinking about this too, the last couple of weeks, I thought, okay, if this were not 2023, what if this were 1993, say 30 years ago? There would be no reverse 911. There'd be no cell phones, really, no photos, no social media. What would people have done? They would have gotten out of their car and walked, or they would have somehow made a U-turn and driven over the median and gone to a payphone somewhere and called their home to talk to their kids, or call their neighbor maybe to go check on their loved ones in their home. In other words, they would have used the tools that were available during that time. And the thing about the thing about Blackboard Connect and social media and everything is these are tools that we use now, but they all require the public to opt in a certain way. Residents have to, I don't want to say meet us halfway, but it's kind of what they have to do.
It's got to be on the front of their thinking.
Right.
It would be interesting, and I don't know if it'd be too time consuming, if we could do a survey to see how our residents how our residents currently receive messages from the city, and are they conversant? Like tonight, you explained to me about Arvin accessing Twitter and so forth in a better way. But I don't know. I don't think we know. It's like not Nielsen ratings where we know who's watching what. We really don't know. I think years ago, maybe the city would have put some signs or had people stationed at different places so they wouldn't have driven up. And who knows? But is it hard to do a survey? I mean, I know it's sort of self-selecting who fills it out.
Yeah, it's sometimes fraught with peril. I mean, we've done that, and you have the situation where there might be 5 computers in one home, and then 5 other devices maybe in that. So you got 10 devices in one home, and so you have one person. Maybe there's only 2 people who live in that home, but they're going on 10 different things to respond. Or maybe if we send out, and we've done this before, where we've sent out postcards asking people to then go to our website and take part in the survey. That's sometimes problematic too, because of the way that the post office delivers we have 3 different zip codes within the city of Calabasas, and 2 of them bleed into other neighboring communities, other neighboring cities. So there's always things like SurveyMonkey, but it's unless you want to pay a lot of money to have it done scientifically, it is tough to do. Tough to be accurate, I should say. It's easy to do a survey, but to be accurate.
Candace,
I wanted to ask a quick question, which is about communication, but it's kind of off topic. But before I forget, we always got an updated roster for the commission every year. Did we get one this year? With our names, cell phone number, all of our contact information.
We did from the city. I don't think it came from CTC. It came from maybe the city clerk, but we could get it resent to everybody.
Are you guys talking about this Communications and Technology Commission list of the
Yes.
members and their address? I've got it. It came to me.
It came to you from who?
Well, from the city, obviously. It's the only place it could have been.
Okay, I'll look. Don't.
It might have been, I don't know if you had put it in with the agenda or but it was probably the product of the
How many people have it?
musician.
It'll be easy to send it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Just send it
Yeah,
out.
Darren, did you send it out?
No, that's Maury in the city clerk's office.
So maybe I'll ask Maury for it.
There was the result of the commission changing positions and so forth. That's probably what provoked the.
Yeah, it's just nice to have.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, we've come up with a very interesting perspective here of the integration of both the immediacy of communication and yet the need to reach as large a number of people in the city as we can. And I don't think we're going to come up with a quick answer because there probably isn't one. But I think it may be worth some further probing, either with a subcommittee or something of that nature, to give us the time to see if there's something that sort of appears as an additional means of communication.
But I wanted to ask, I think it's important to ask if we're getting a hue and cry about this, if we're getting a large number of people complaining that they're not able to get the information, or if is that happening or is it not happening? Because maybe it's just a few people that are.
Well, apparently a number of the city council people, and when I say a number, I think 3 out of 5, and the other 2 weren't as involved. But I think a few of the city council members were inundated with residents calling them, trying to understand what was happening. So it was obvious that and we're talking about many residents. So they obviously aren't schooled in following the city and getting the update alert from some of the social media. And then I did hear from a number of residents saying, well, I did get a text, but then I never got any follow-up. So I think people, once they got that first text, were waiting for some, like you said, I like how you said it, Michael Russo, like there were bookends and they were kind of waiting for the other bookend.
Yeah, 'cause you might have a different perspective too, because I'm over here where we didn't have the problem.
Exactly.
Look, I knew about it, but it wasn't impacting me. So different perspectives.
Right. Yeah. Well, why don't we, I was kind of amused for a second, Michael Brockman, when you said maybe we need a subcommittee. I mean, maybe like, a communication subcommittee.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
it did, but I'm
It's a
teasing.
very important subject. We've touched on something, I think, that is larger than we realize it is, and maybe.
Well, it's a dissemination of
Not the answer.
information.
Yeah. It's
Well,
the
we could
core of
have,
our title.
we could set up a subcommittee with two members. I don't want to put too much on you, Michael Brockman, but would you like to be part of that, or you feel you're not right?
I'd be happy to participate, but I don't want to, since the scope of my technological knowledge is limited, maybe we would be better off having two that are more knowledgeable, but I'm perfectly happy and able to participate.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to more finitely describe what we're going to be, what
Yeah,
the committee would be working on? Because it's right now, it's like this big,
it's a little amorphous at the moment, yes.
a little more specific, like information dissemination, or, just something more specific.
Well, it is information dissemination and like kind of like to see what the flow chart is when it's a time sensitive, but it's not a true emergency. And then maybe part of that under that would be educating the community, which Mike Russo, you're in the process of kind of formulating, so they know to look at these different social medias. So does Bella count as far as if there's two regular members and a student member? How does that work? Is that okay?
I'm guessing it's probably okay because she doesn't have a vote.
Okay. So would
Personally,
so Bella, can we nominate you to be on that subcommittee?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
So, and Michael Brockman, is there one other person who would like to, Bella is going to be our technological wizard. So it's just somebody who can add some ideas.
Well, Richard, this seems to be your baby. Maybe you should be on the committee.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
I'm happy to, or Carrie, do you want to be?
Not right now.
Okay. All right, then, Michael, then, all right. All right, there'll be the three of us then.
okay.
Michael Brockman, Bella, and myself. And I think the two scopes is, talking more about information dissemination and, and educating our community.
But I don't think we should lose sight of and I don't want to belabor this, we've done a pretty good job so far, but the demographic breakdown of the city. Is Michael Russo, is there any methodology of, I'm guessing that even from the political standpoint, they must have some information about the demographic components of the city.
Oh,
Is
just in
overlay
general,
to-
yeah, you can find that on our website. You can find it on the census website.
Yeah.
But in terms of the social media audience, off the top of my head, I don't have that, other than I know it skews younger and it skews more female.
Yeah, I'm just looking for like an overlay of the social media profiles against the demographics of the city. I don't want to make a problem that doesn't exist,
Right.
but it's that kind of linkage that we're trying to find a way to see if there's a way to reach both targets in a relatively quick fashion. Anyway,
All right, so we'll set up a Zoom meeting at some point in the near future. Carrie, do you want to talk a little bit about and Michael Russo about the spectrum blackout?
Well, I think many of us were affected by the approximately 12-hour spectrum blackout. It affected, I believe, Michael, that a Los Angeles Department of Water and Power work crew cut through
Yes.
a fiber optic cable. Not
Yes.
only they cut through the spectrum fiber optic cable, which fed much of the east side of Calabasas, or a large part of it, but they also chopped through an AT&T cell tower, line as well.
It was a landline. They
A
had
landline.
issues with a cell tower during the storms about a week
Oh,
before.
okay. Anyway,
This was more AT&T landline.
we many of us lost everything for about 12 hours, and I happen to be doing that yearly. Your promotions ran out, so you have to call and try and get new ones. Several hours of phone calls, and I haphazardly asked, well, what about, is there some kind of rebate for the time we lost with spectrum? And they went on and said, oh yeah, we see there was yes, there is a rebate available. I said, oh, terrific. How much? Well, in my case, it was $7.26.
yeah, but you had to go out and reach for it. It was not.
It was hours, right? It was hours on the phone, but that was just one quick question of the other hours trying to. I did get some concessions in the end, but I did get a $7 plus credit.
Yeah, I think it was all his hours on the phone, because I called knowing that, and I got like $5.40 of tax.
It all depended on. Anyway, I'm not sure if we want to dilute spectrum with calls. They're not going to just credit us back. If anybody in the listening audience who did lose power for that amount of time wants a credit, they're going to have to call.
But I would just add that when I asked about the blackout, they looked it up very quickly and said, yes, you're entitled to money for that lost day. And she was very accommodating.
And that's one of those things that, as a rule, Spectrum has a policy of, if it is not their fault, they won't give you any sort of credit / rebate / refund. So it's one of those things where depends on who you talk to, maybe when you call, or if they're doing some sort of a promotion or whatever. And you might find somebody who's more accommodating to do a small refund, or you might find somebody who will just say no and stick by their rules. Again, it was a DWP crew. It was not Spectrum's fault. So generally the way they look at it is, hey, if it's not our fault, why should we be refunding you money? But, goodwill, customer service, etc., it's worth giving a shot.
And of course, I mentioned your name, Michael.
And
I was
in my
joking.
case, I just wanted to
I didn't
get
mention
me off the phone.
anything. I didn't mention anything. I just said I'm a resident and here's my address. Okay, why don't we go to monthly reports, please? Wireless facility minor modification permits.
Well,
There's nobody here from community development, but everything they had is in the packet that you received.
right.
Okay. Franchise fee report.
Yes, I submitted the 2022 franchise fees and they're all paid up to date. And again, this is only an information item, so it does not require any action.
Okay, thank you. And there were no cable complaints.
No complaints.
Just a 12-hour complaint, but pay that attention.
And cable company report? What?
We do not have someone from Spectrum.
Okay.
Michael Russo, I'm surprised they're not here tonight.
Oh gosh, They may be coming to city council though on March 8th. That is a city council meeting where a lot of public utility representatives will be in attendance. If I may, Chair Sherman, before we move on to item 7, I've been
Yes,
informed
please.
that our student commissioner, Bella, is going to have to leave pretty soon. I was wondering if she could do her student report.
Absolutely. Bella, your turn.
Thank you so much. So for my student report, I just wanted to update you guys on some of the stuff I've been working with Arvin and CTV. So sort of similar to our club feature on Meta Talks and Thoughts, a nonprofit organization started by Calabasas students, we wanted to do something similar with another club at Calabasas. So Arvin was actually talking to a student commissioner from the environmental committee who is a part of a club called Roots and Shoots, which is an environmental club at Calabasas. And so I got in contact with them and their president, and right now we're working to create a club feature on them similar to the Meta Talks and Thoughts video. And so this club will be at the Environmental Forum workshop on Thursday night. So Arvin will be going there to sort of conduct some interviews with them and get footage for this feature. And we also plan to do similar features in the future like this one and sort of make it more of a reoccurring segment.
Thank you. Any
Okay.
questions for Bella before she has to leave?
Well, I just noticed that she's not on the agenda, so want to make sure she gets on the agenda going forward.
Yeah, that was an oversight last time. Hopefully we won't keep it as an oversight.
Yeah, we'll make that correction. Sorry about that.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
That's great news,
Thanks for
Bella.
catching that, Candace. Instead of going through every single subcommittee, are there any subcommittee reports?
No,
If there aren't any tonight, then we'll just go right on to the director's report. Okay.
Okay, and as you see,
thank you, Bella. Thank you, Bella.
Take care, Bella.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And as you see in your packets, we have the reports on smartphone usage, Granicus, YouTube usage by the public. All fairly straightforward. And if there's no questions, we can move on to Arvin with the CTV report.
Arvin?
Yes,
You're up.
thank you. All right, I'm up. My turn. All right, thank you. I'll go over our report for our productions for the past couple months. We created a new show called Surviving an Active Shooter Event. This was a workshop over at the Founders Hall by the Senior Center, and we were able to record that. Early January, we went over to the Water District and we were able to make 4 PSAs, especially since after that rain in the early part of the year, everyone had a lot of questions about, well, is the drought over or do we need to conserve? So it was a good time to go over there and talk to the PR people. And we made a couple of PSAs. Some of the topics were keep conserving even after big rains. Another one was after the rain, this is the good time to change your landscaping. And another one, all this rain won't make it till summertime. So it's still important to keep conserving. So these were some water informational items we made. A fourth one that we could almost use almost every winter is, turn off your sprinklers. Rain is in the forecast, which it happens to be today. So maybe you might want to turn off your sprinklers for the next few days. Also, another one of our shows was Old Town ribbon cutting after their remodel, a public safety workshop, also again at Founders Hall. Some of our productions, school board is back on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays. We are out there recording those. Thank you, Greg. Again, Old Town grand reopening was on January 11th. Water District PSAs were January 25th. The Park and Rec Department was doing a workshop on the community center, the Agoura Hills Calabasas Community Center. So we were able to record that and show it. That was January 30th. A Ethics Brown Act, which I'm sure all you commissioners know about. That was a hybrid meeting early February, I'm sorry. And again, the public safety workshop with the HOAs and the sheriff was also February 2nd, which is now on CTV and also on our YouTube channel. And you could watch that over and over again. Some upcoming shows city park services, some construction over at Mulholland Highway, senior yoga, we're still working on coordinating that. Fentanyl crisis is something that we're always touching on and talking to different people about that. Thank you to Richard Sherman for your ideas. We're working on making a neighborhood watch and how to start one kind of a program. So we've been contacting the sheriff and a resident who's involved in that. So that's coming up. Our passport acceptance facility ribbon cutting was today, actually, which you saw on social media. There was a picture of it. The little program on that is coming up as well. Check our website for appointments for that. And again, as our student commissioner Bella mentioned, CHS clubs, Roots and Shoots is the one that we're touching on next. And this Thursday, February 23rd, at the Founders Hall is a event called Lawn to Drought Tolerant. So it's a environmental commission forum where you could learn about this is the time to change your lawn to something that's native and not using so much water. Our promoted events continuing on my list, the mayor's Friday letters or workshops.
Where's all that feedback coming from?
I think I got it. Spring rec brochures, our library events, senior events. Also in February, we have 12 meetings that we're either showing or recording. And that's a short month, but we'll keep on chugging through and continue on with that. All this information and more is on our website. So if you'd like to find out more, please visit cityofcalabasas.com. And if you'd like to, you can follow us on social too for up-to-the-date information.
Thank you, Arvin. God, you guys are incredibly busy.
Sorry, Richard, you're muted.
Thank you. I had a question. Has there ever been a PSA, and maybe you said it at some point and I missed it, on EPIC, the EPIC program?
No.
It's the Brian Cameron, that's
Right.
the fire safety.
Right, the Emergency
Oh.
Preparedness in Calabasas, the Fire Safe Council. No, we have been talking to them the last few months about, coordinating communications and things like that. But no, we have not specifically done a PSA with them. They have a large home hardening program with fire, and we did several PSAs with LA County Fire covering home hardening just last year.
So maybe there can be an addendum about how people can contact, I guess, EPIC for the fire. There was an article, the reason why I brought it up, there was an article in the Acorn about it last week, but they talked about earthquake preparedness, and I don't think EPIC is doing that as of yet. So
it might be something in the works for the future, but yeah, they are definitely doing the fire home hardening, and their information is on our website as part of that home hardening section in the public safety page.
Okay, good. Future agenda items. Anybody? If not, I have a question. I know tomorrow night there's going to be the presentation about at City Council on the proposed fiber network.
Correct.
Could maybe at our next meeting you could kind of give us like a little summary of what's going on with that? Because I just was still questioning: is it just going to be, who is it going to? Is it going to eventually impact in a positive way residents? Is it just for city business? It's a little unclear, and maybe there'll be some more clarity tomorrow that you and Arvin can share with the commission next meeting.
Sure, we'll be hearing from the consultant Jory Wolf, who actually we had at our November meeting with Dr. Kramer. He's going to be presenting tomorrow night as well with a little more background.
Right.
What's tomorrow night?
It's City Council.
Oh, that's what I thought. I was thinking you were talking about Thursday night.
No.
Okay. Anything else anybody would like to add, comment on? If not, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjournment.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for active participation. We'll see everybody at the next meeting, and we'll try to get a subcommittee going on the dissemination of information. Okay. Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
you all.
everybody.
Everybody.
Right,
Bye now.
everybody.